welcome to Hank's Maker Mentor. My name is Ruth and I'm here to help you learn how to make. Today we're going to talk about Cricut Infusible Ink. We're also going to talk about what happens if you don't store it according to the Cricut recommendations. 6 weeks ago, I started an experiment that I'm going to let my past self tell you about. So Cricut advises you to store infusible ink where it will be dry and dark. I am using this one as my control. It won't have been opened. The bag will still be sealed. These three, one of them is going to be put in sunlight next to a window. One of them is going to be kept in my craft room where there will be overhead light reaching it. And this one I'm going to put in my garage, which will be somewhere dry and dark but very hot. These are the wet ones. They are going to be the same basic idea. I sprayed them with just some plain water, and part of it I sprayed pretty heavily, the other part I sprayed much lighter. And we're gonna do same idea, one in sunlight, one in artificial light, and then one in the dark. It's gonna go in a closet and be tucked under something. Our final one is going to be moist. I am in a desert. My current humidity in my house is 21%, and moist is not something that's easy to come by. We are going to put a generous amount of water in with the dirt in each, put a lid on them, and then put one in the sunlight, one where it's gonna get some room light, and then one in the dark. Today, we're going to see how all of them turned out by pressing each of them, controlling for as many factors as we can. I'm going to start by just opening them, placing them one by one on the mat, and I'm going to put the sticky that corresponds over to the side so that I can make sure I line them up correctly. I simplified names to let us know which ones we were working with, and I used just the default Cricut Sans text, hoping that it would make it easy to work with. These bottom 9 are the ones that I just placed on the mat to be cut. These top ones I'm going to do from the brand new box, so we're going to actually change them to a different color. I'm just going to put these in based off of where they are on the mat. I have already flipped the text on these, so I don't have to try to remember to do it as we work, since infusible ink does need to be mirrored. So this is the brand new box. I bought it at the exact same time and place as the first one. It has not been opened before, and prior to the past 6 weeks, it has been stored in the exact same environment as the other. This is just a reminder, check your settings. It took me 5 cuts and adjusting the settings in managing custom materials before I got the cut that actually comes out clean. And some of these are definitely popping up, so I'm gonna give them one last push before I put them in the machine. I've set my heat press based off of the settings for doing a Cricut t-shirt with infusible ink transfer sheet. With the cardstock underneath, we're going to do a sample of the fabric that comes with the Cricut Infusible Ink packages, as well as a sample of polyester fabric that I bought at Joann's. All right, so I'm going to start by finding my two control ones. There we go. So I have my Control J for my one from Joann's, and then I've got my Cricut one, and then I'm going to lay these at the same width across, and we're going to go ahead and press them. These are supposed to be removed when they're warm, so we're going to go ahead and remove them right now. It looked like that area was really light when I pulled it off, but I think that's just because it was stretching. So that is the Cricut fabric, and there is the Joann sample. They both did a good job taking the ink off. They might have actually done better if I had left them for maybe another 5 seconds, but in the interest of controlling variables, we are still going to press the other ones for the 40 seconds. After having pressed for the full 40 seconds, we're going to go ahead and take them out. All right, so those are all warm, so let's go ahead and start taking them off. So let's take a quick look at what ink was left behind. The moist ones have quite a bit of the pink up here left. The wet ones have a lot of this orange left. I'm curious if that's because of how it was tunneling on the project despite trying to flatten it down. There's a little bit on some of the dry ones. The control ones have a little bit, but not as much as any of the other ones. So let's take a look at how these turned out. I'm going to compare it to the Joann's control, since it's the one that the exact color of the white is the same. Not surprisingly, the wet ones have those big pieces of color missing, but parts of it did turn out really well if it wasn't where the water was. So you might consider, if you do get some water on it, dry it off and just use the parts that did not get wet. For the moist ones, it had a lot of trouble keeping them in place when I weeded, which is why this eye is slid over. It bumped off after I had placed it on, but the colors look okay. I don't think any of these are awful. The moist from the sunlight definitely looks the darkest. For the ones that were kept dry, they had a bigger issue weeding, and so you've got bits of ink that are left in between. If I had tried harder to make sure I removed all the white from these, they might have turned out without a problem. But when you compare the one that was kept in the garage to the control, they were pretty much cut out of the same section of the pattern, but the control colors are definitely more vibrant. Is it the end of the world if you can't always store your infusible ink in a dark, dry environment with a moisture absorbing pack? No. Do I think it's better? I like the colors from the ones that were kept in the dark better than I do than the ones that were kept in the light. They're a little bit brighter, and for this pattern, I think that's a good thing. Is there anything really wrong with these? No. Depending on the project, the only ones that I say are really problematic are the wet ones. As long as you've gone through the dry ones and made sure you've painstakingly weeded each piece of the backing. Let me know if there's any other experiments you want to run or questions that you have about infusible ink. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.